picks.
I'm interested to see, the tank duo of the Gladiators get back into play here. Remix and Bijou. They were so good during contenders. Most likely, you see Remix running that main tank. Bijou can run whether it's Zarya or D.Va as the flex tank. I think they've kind of built this roster interesting, the LA Gladiators, right? You went out, got a very strong front line from one team, a very strong back line from another, and then filled it in with some versatile DPS heroes.
So this is going to be a fun little mix here as well. This lineup, obviously for the side of the Lunar Spitfire, is neither fully GCP Sun, it's not fully C9 Kongdu, or either of the two actually. There's also mixes of Fury in there. So this is fun. This is kind of like, a Korean fan's dream, I guess. You think about two of the strongest rosters coming together, and now they're all mixing and coalescing as one unit of 6.
I mean, you got to mix and match, right? I mean, in the preseason, you may as well. The record doesn't carry into the regular season. You can see what you can do with all the talent you have in an actual game environment, right? Much different than something like a scrim or an inter-team match that they could potentially have.
So this is fun. We've got Rascal on the Mei pick at the moment. So obviously playing over that main point, first of all, Blizzard covers the entirety of the point you're trying to defend, which is really nice if you can get that, but also the walls here. Notice a lot of these are very small corridors, so you can disrupt the enemy team's setup quite a lot with this particular Mei pick, create picks for your Roadhog, and then obviously Birdring from up on high is going to be doing a lot of that damage on the Soldier 76. That's a lot of fun for me. Shortfall's on the Tracer though, Hydration on the Junkrat. That's the mix up, and of course Bijou on his famed D.Va pick. He just gets picked out of the mix. It's like a lucky dip. And London hit the jackpot. They're still going to push forward, though. Los Angeles still fancy a bit of a stash on the point.
Oh, that's tough. I mean, there's nothing really Shaz can do right there, right? He gets hit with the halt, then the hook comes through. Rascal, he'll die. The martyrdom of hydration there on the point. They'll bring it right back up.
Okay, that's pretty annoying because obviously Rascal was hitting some amazing right clicks with that endothermic blaster. But when Junkrat dies above you, his grenades, that he leaves when he dies, drop down on top of you. And there's actually not much you can do about it. People don't think about that after killing a Junkrat all the time, but he got dumped on by the remains, I guess, of that Junkrat or hydration. That's funny.
Remix is going to jump up top, and he just gets blown up by the tanks of the London Spitfire. And it's interesting because you saw from Hydration's POV, it looked like him and Sherpa were going to work their way through the bottom, but there when the Mei wall comes through, they're not able to work their way all the way to that back staircase, not able to help Remix out. Just a very nice play there from the London Spitfire.
You don't expect to deal with this Mei here at all if you're Los Angeles. And if you actually play a dive comp in towards this Mei, you can put a lot of pressure on her. However, you have to get up close and personal, which is where you make yourself susceptible to a lot of Mei's hits. Of course, the endothermic blaster, primary fire is going to slow them down and ultimately freeze them up. Oh, that's so nasty. The right click connects with Shorefall here, and Rascal even has self-regeneration, so he's able to push Shorefall off after he used that recall.
Yeah, he's accurate with these ice picks. He's going to be able to take out Shorefall pretty quick, as it's going to put down the Mei wall, split Shorefall off here. It's going to force him to go all the way around. They're just trying to find hydration here as he was trying to go over the top.
I mean, this Blizzard's going to get pretty nasty if Rascal can drop on the point. And the Gladiators know that. And it's a question of how do we draw this out of Rascal without losing a team fight and feeding ultimate percentage elsewhere. That's a good start though. Nuss gets taken down. No more Mercy Res available in this fight. And Big Goose is clinging to life. Those ice spikes have definitely chunked him pretty darn low. Bijou with a quick 2. He hits the backline. Third for Bijou right now. Rascal, can he even go for the Blizzard right now? Or would it be just a waste? I think he opts to not go for it. What a convincing dive from Los Angeles Gladiators.
Yeah, it's a big pick from Sherfor with the Pulse Bomb. Takes out the enemy Mercy. No reason to have any more ults committed by the London Spitfire. Shaz uses a Transcendence as soon as Sherfor gets that pick. Pretty much ensures point A.
That's the dream opening there for the Gladiators. Great start for them, and also they've managed to maintain a couple ultimates. The London Spitfire, however, have the same, and bear in mind, the Gladiators are not watching. Shaz picks off Birdring. There might be another opening here. The Mercy's still in place, and Nuts can get a res. Speaking of which, the Gladiators don't have a Mercy. They're actually using Big Goose on the Lucio here, and they're going to use that sound barrier. They're going to break it down now, and Hydration's going to be looking for a target. Again, frustrating because Hugapin is getting healed up there by Nuss. Tricky to burst down as a Genji.
The Spitfire do have to use their Transcendence there. It'll be a kill from Sherford, getting Fury out of the mech. So there goes both support ults for the London Spitfire, and Hydration's holding on this Dragon Blade. So they're going to have nothing to deal with that in the next fight.
And Hydration just walked into the Blizzard there. I don't know if he knew it was there or maybe he was trying to stop the damage being applied on top of the freeze, but Beast is trying to get away now. He's going to be frozen solid, unfortunately. Quickly desuited, and now he'll be held in place to stagger out. Note the Rascal's not actually trying to be lethal here, but just to hold Bishu in place. And in fact, they're just going to leave him as well in the pilot D.Va form, which means that Bishu's going to be a while before he can even get back into his suit.
Oh, that's so tilting. Rascal actually freezes Bijou and then just walks away from him. Let him get healed right back up as they want to keep him out of the mech. It'll be Birdring getting a pick here on a Sherfor as Gladiators, they have to back up. Can't get staggered out here. Big Goose switches off of Lucio over to Ana, who we didn't see get a lot of play yesterday.
Switched off to Lucio. This is interesting now, and this is super dangerous. I don't really agree with taking this Ana Zenyatta up against Birdring Tracer. Neither of those supports can really peel for each other unless Big Goose actually hit the sleep dart or Shaz just manages to kill Birdring somehow. I mean, this is who we're talking about. This is a super risky setup, but very good if they have high ground control.
You're potentially playing for a Nano Blade, and they're going to be forced to use the Transcendence here, so that's the only sustain ult they have, and now Hydration will pull out the Blade, and you get nothing for it. So you held onto the Blade, you got both support ults out in the previous fight, and now everything's gonna have to be reset here for the Gladiators.
Now, Big Goose is close to a Nano Boost here. He wanted to give Shawful a Nano Visor because Spitfire, while they do have a Diva in play, Los Angeles can sort of burst that down, and then the Spitfire's sort of lacking a lot of defense. A Nano Visor from that high ground here is what makes this map really good for attackers in many cases. We'll see if that's going to be put to use here. There's a lot of ultimates coming online for the Gladiators.
And now the Gladiators going to switch things up again. So Hydration will move off of Genji after using that Blade, getting nothing for it. And they'll go over to Roadhog. So this will be the first triple tank setup we see from the Gladiators. We saw Hydration play tank map number 1. The Maywall causing a lot of problems up top, splitting members from the Gladiators off.
Yeah, that's incredibly smart there, the way they did it. I'll explain it in a sec, but now Blizz is going to go down here. So Rascal's had such a big impact on this fight. First of all, the wall comes up to separate the Gladiators' frontline and DPS from their supports. Big Goose requires line of sight to heal his teammates, and he couldn't do it. Shawful now as well is going to go for the Nano Visor here. Fish has been put to sleep, and he's trying to finish him off, just trying to get around the shielding. But Fury's going to get that defense matrix all up in Shawfall's grill, and he can't get damage done through it. A little bit of a waste of that Nano Visor. And surely the Ana, there's going to be the question of whether the Gladiators want to persist with that particular pick, especially after using that ultimate.
Yeah, the Valkyrie comes in for the Spitfire, just brings those players right back into the fight. It's going to be very difficult for the Gladiators with only that one really sustained ultimate, the Transcendence, to kind of push on through, especially when the other team has the Mercy and the Zen combo.
And the Los Angeles Gladiators are also very susceptible to early picks, something that Birdwing's going to try and do. They can't resurrect. There's not like a rewind button or a get out of jail free card. This is what Birdwing's looking for. Rascal does get hooked in, but look at the wall. Shaz is on his own. Essentially, there's a couple of players with him, but Birdwing has his pick of target right now. Another pulse bomb's available. Fury sends up that self-destruct, and Hydration at least gets the trade. Birdwing is down, but Remix is very low. So is Bishu, not looking great. The rest of London Spitfire is setting up on this high ground. It's an interesting composition from the Gladiators, and so far it hasn't really come to fruition.
Be the Transcendence that comes out from the Spitfire. They're getting very close to a blizzard here. There's a lot of players in this low ground. It'll be Hydration also using Whole Hog. The nice sleep dart there from Big Goose prevents the follow-up that would have evidently come from Rascal. The Fury, though, he connects with 2 players there. Follow-up does come through from the Spitfire. It'll be Bishu in the last final moments here, just trying to use that self-destruct, maybe pick up 1 or 2. He'll get demet, as this May has worked out quite well for the Spitfire.
I think that's an understatement, Matt. It doesn't look like the Gladiators have really had a response to it right now. So much so that Shawfall's going to be switching over towards the Reaper here to try and get themselves out of this compromising situation. And as you would expect, that has caused Big Goose to switch towards this Lucio. Again, picks are going to be much more devastating against the Gladiators because they lack a resurrect mechanic, and you're going up against Birdwing, one of the best tracers in the world. So, pick your poison, essentially. There's a lot of threats here for the Spitfire to use. Fury's trying to get to the backline. He releases self-destruct, a little bit of a parting dip. He's going to try and get away, and he does. The ultimate only serves to zone away the Gladiators, and they're ready to come back in and fight, but they're all kind of low on HP. Hydration's trying to get healed, and Shawfall gets in towards the front line. Fury's low. He's actually going to get desuited now, forced to stand up on the high ground and just ping down with the Bunny Blaster. They might require more than that to get this job done. Big Goose finds Hugapin there, and Fish is forced to try and hide behind the pillar. Desperately, Nuss is trying to keep him healed up from the high ground, but he's picked off. Shawfall finds him with the Hellfire shotguns, and now Hydration gets a lovely big hook on towards Fisher. He goes down to about 10% HP. Hydration now with that sound barrier provided by Big Goose, and switch towards Lucio. Seems to have paid up, but the blizzard might ruin this day. It's a winter wonderland, but definitely not for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Birdwing goes in, Big Goose down, Shaz to drop here. The last chance for the Los Angeles Gladiators. It all seems to have gone awry. 2 ticks, and that may well be all they're going to get here. Overtime is low. Beast is forced to jump onto the point with nothing but a Bunny Blaster in a dream, and that's just not going to cut the mustard. Overtime is done, and that's it. The Spitfire hold strong. Interesting compositions, Matt. I'm not quite sure about what we saw there from the Gladiators.
I believe the Gladiators don't even get a tick there on point B, so a very good defense from the Spitfire. Really used that Mei to great effect, but there towards the end, Fisher gets res by Nuss, who's in Valkyrie, and then he has that Primal Rage. Hydration, I actually thought did a nice job using the whole hog, pushing the Winston back, but it just didn't last enough. Fisher's able to make it back towards the point, just stays alive for a little bit for a Bird Ring to make some noise on the Tracer.
We haven't seen Mei in so long, especially in competitive matches like this. We have seen, to be honest, glimpses of her over in the Korean region, but you can see what she's so good at doing. Controlling space. She's actually a rare mix of, I guess, a DPS character that can create space, or or does a lot with it. Blizzard is essentially a zoning tool. If you get caught in that Blizzard, then you're definitely going to go down, but you cannot walk into it. And this particular map, especially, the capture points. Basically, the disadvantage for defenders on this map is that those points are out in the open, and it's all just sort of one small area. But a defensive Mei can actually make that an advantage for you, because the enemy team also need to be in that localized area. And Matt, this is going to be a bit of fun. I see a Doomfist in game.
I think it was very difficult for the Gladiators, though, without having the Mercy, right? Valkyrie provides so much healing, the double res. When the other team has that Mercy Zen combo, it's just so difficult.
It's your boy!
All right. Now, Doomfist, when he first got released, we saw a ton of play at the top level. I wonder, what it'll take for him to come back into the meta. Hydration, I believe, actually has one account where he just plays a competitive ladder strictly as Doomfist. So, he has a lot of time played on this hero. See if he makes it work. Here on Horizon, there's a lot of close areas. You can kind of get those rocket punches right into the heroes, get those one-hit kills.
Attackers incoming.
Again, close quarters combat is pretty much where Doomfist likes to operate, but Rascal's going to be here on that Sombra. Again, a hack on Doomfist essentially renders him absolutely useless. All of his damage comes from his abilities, which would be offline in the case of a hack or an EMP. Rascal very quickly moving up, controlling that mega health pack, and puts himself on the point here, trying to do a little bit of scouting. He's actually almost got himself a tick. Hello, Los Angeles? Oh no, they're giving over a free tick here. They spent so much time up on the high ground that Spitfire are just taking everything away from them here. 2 ticks for free. That is not good. That is a big mistake.
You can't do that. Give up 2 ticks right at the beginning of the game. The Gladiators, they pick up some kills, but it just took them so long to work their way back towards the point.
Okay, so I'd imagine now there'd be a little bit of discussion, perhaps slightly heated amongst the Gladiators here, because there was a communication breakdown, pure and simple. Someone needs to go and address that, especially when Rascal's invisible on the point, though. It can be quite hard to stop him, but just stand on the point and just keep it contested.
Just contest it for a little bit, right? Maybe you send the Diva back. Maybe you send your Winston back.
Their margin of error is so small. It's only one more tick before they take the point, and Gladiators have to go now. Rascal, you cheeky little man, gets himself on the point, now drawing back the Gladiators. They have to go now. They can't just leave it for a second. They've got no margin of error really to deal with, and that gives them the pick on Hydration.
Well, it's interesting. Surefour moves on back to the point, but he's really the only source of long-range damage for the Gladiators. So when he goes back to the point, they're able to take the Doomfist out with relative ease. He can't do really anything at range.
Oh, okay. The Gladiators are in disarray right now. Things are just not working for him. Fury finds Big Goose and Surefour. The Transcendence doesn't keep them alive at all, and Shaz unfortunately commits that ultimate to very little avail. Rascal's on the point with an EMP, but why not just save it for the next? They only need a little bit more of 1 tick, and you can see the Hydration throwing himself into the mix, but he's so vulnerable out in the open like that. That was a masterclass from the Spitfire. Talk about damned if you do it, damned if you don't. The Gladiators gave up so much of that point before the fight even started.
It's so difficult to fight back after you give up those 2 ticks. You can see the self-destruct that comes in from Fury, and right away it is the Spitfire pushing on to point B.
Rascal's actually switched off the Sombra here, so opting not to worry about that EMP that I believe he tried to keep in reserve. Now the McCree, so the high ground control is going to be very scary once Spitfire sort of managed to control that area, safe to say. Bishu gets taken down there, not much the Diva can do, trying to strafe left, right, and AD as we call it. Rascal now will sit back from the rest of his team. Again, just use this safety to his advantage here. Pressuring down that Winston. Remix is so low, already getting taken down. Transcendence now for the Spitfire, so they can stay topped up on the point. And Surefour's trying to challenge here with this Genji. The flash doesn't connect from Rascal, but there's great peel from Fury. Quickly gets to the assistance of his DPS player. And now Rascal's got all the space that he needs. Almost 1 tick, and now that tick has come through. Remix forced to be on his own. And Winstons don't last very long out in the wild on their own. They're pod people. And now it's going to be 2 ticks on this one. Gladiators, no chance, not going to happen. That was not close at all, Matt. Those last couple stages, Los Angeles Gladiators on their defense, perhaps some communication issues have just been revealed.
And once they get a pick, the London Spitfire, on that point B, and they force the fights on the point, Rascal is uncontested on the